exciting that at the world's largest technology stage, we are talking about water technology? Yeah. Absolutely. So welcome to the Zero Mass Water booth here at CES 2019. Thank you so much for spending some of your CES time with us today. We think it's pretty exciting that we don't have to spend time worrying or being cynical or disappointed about water infrastructure or the water infrastructure choices we have today. Instead, we can be thrilled and excited about water technology that can transform problems with water all around the world. And that technology is right behind me. That's the Source Hydro Panel. This morning, I would like to extend our gratitude to the City of Flint Mayor, Dr.Karen Weaver, and Lupe Fiasco for joining us today. And I know none of you are here to see me, so let me bring onto the stage Lupe Fiasco. Lupe is a 3-year friend and partner of Zero Mass Water. Such a good friend, in fact, that he has been with us installing these panels in Jordan and in the Philippines. And as the Lupe fans know, he is cerebral with his art. And as you'll hear in a moment, he is highly intentional with his humanity. Please join me in welcoming Lupe Fiasco.
Check 1 2 1 2 check. Hey, this is the best stage I've ever been on ever in my entire career. How you guys doing? Welcome to Las Vegas for you first timers. For you second timers, welcome back to Las Vegas. My name is Lupe Fiasco. I'm a musician, rapper, artist, entrepreneur. Work in many different fields, many different places. Cody Friesen over there, the CEO of Zero Mass Water, who you'll be hearing from shortly, is a very good friend of mine. We run in many different circles and involved with business, philanthropy, and things of that nature. And Cody always tries to get me to do these keynotes, which I'm terrible at. But he tries to like gas me up and give me the inspiration. And we'll sit back and pregame and say, no, just talk about this and talk about that. You'll do fine. You'll do great. And along the way, we get some value added. So I hope to add some value with some of the things that I'm going to say. First, what am I doing here? What is a rapper doing a part of this water technology company? And what is my role? One of my roles at Zero Mass when I came in was to advise Cody on articulation. You know, how to frame something, how to tell the story of what this is in the best possible way. But in the reverse, because I'm actually a terrible storyteller. And what he uses me for is whatever idea that I come up with is going to be so bad that he knows that's what is not to use. So if they have these great board meetings about all these great ideas, and then they bring me in, and if I say exactly what they said, then they know everything that they was talking about was nonsense and throw it out. For instance, Cody said, hey, we need to think about, we got water, we got technology, we got this whole infrastructure, we got algorithms, we got computation, we got microprocessors. Lupe, what is that? Put all that together, what is that? And I was like, liquid technology. Terminator 2, T-1000. Let's call them T1. Let's call them T-1000s. And he said, oh, but you know, we're doing some stuff in Michigan. I was like, can we frame it for Michigan? And I was like, Michigan technology, fighting the good fight. Let's call it Robo-Drop, because you know that was in RoboCop, Robo-Drop water. Thank you. Of course, they're called source panels. So there you go. So as an artist, I got introduced to water and the water crisis through art. There's a rapper by the name of Mos Def. When I was just learning to rap, I was maybe about 15, 16. He had an album called Black on Both Sides. The Black on Both Sides had a song called New World Water. And it was a whole diatribe about all these different water issues, technology, shortages of water, municipal issues, the quality of water, the history of water, our relationship to water, all compacted into this 3-minute song, which was such a mind-blowing thing. And actually the first meeting that we had out in Scottsdale, when Cody brought me in and I was sitting there was a financial guy, there was Bree Pettis, who was a robotics guy, there was all these high-level folks that meet this rapper, and they gave their kind of presentations And the only thing I did was I sat and I played New World Water for Cody and the crew. And it showed that, yes, we as artists have a direct relationship to some of these issues in the world. And we can speak to them and frame them and hopefully have an impact on it. I asked a question on my Instagram and my Twitter yesterday. I asked, does socially conscious music actually work? And it was kind of like a self-answering question, because it does, because as an example of myself, listening to New World Water 15, 20 years ago introduced me to this issue, which is I've been kind of sticking with and found myself being a part of and trying to articulate to the world for a very long time. So my first introduction to it was through a rap song. My second introduction to water and trying to do something in that space and help people and create some type of impact. I had a friend named Kenna who had some strange reason in 2010 he wanted to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. And he was like, okay, let's round up a bunch of celebrities, let's all get together and train and get our hiking boots and let's go climb Mount Kilimanjaro. And I was like, for what? And it was to raise awareness for the clean water crisis that was going on in Africa. And it was one of the first times where I got to actually go and see some of the things that were happening in that song, New World Water, going out into the world and actually seeing it in real life. Seeing people unable to drink the water. Water that you shouldn't drink. Let alone not drink water that you shouldn't wash your hands with, because it's so toxic. Water that you shouldn't be able to get in your eye, right? Because you'll catch so many diseases and worms and all these different kind of pieces and parts. And I actually got to see people who had to drink it. They had no choice. And if you put yourself in that capacity, you put yourself in that place, you'll look at water that looks like chocolate milk, right? With things dead in it, right? But you don't have a choice, right? And they drink it, and they contract all these terrible diseases, stunted growth, all of the kind of horror stories that you can hear and imagine about drinking water that is poisonous, right? And then, okay, now let's go climb this mountain. You know, now that we've seen that, we've seen this kind of horror story, and we've seen kind of the effects of it, let's go climb this mountain to try to raise some awareness, right? The mountain was a little bit taller than the stage, but I always found myself elevated, so it's cool, so it's all good. But that was my second kind of piece, seeing this in a real way and being a part of something and putting literally my body on the line to help kind of raise some awareness. And the spinoff from that was we built some wells in Africa. And it was like, okay, that's pretty cool. We got to see the effects of it maybe a couple of years later. And then the third piece that happened was, you know, outside of meeting Cody, was I met that guy right there in the crowd. His name is Michael Ford. Michael Ford, can you raise your hand? Yeah. Michael Ford is an architect. He's based from Detroit, goes all around the world, does something called hip-hop architecture, where he teaches kids architecture through hip-hop. So another relationship between arts and structure, arts and infrastructure, arts and kind of objective things in the world. And we did something at Autodesk on San Francisco, and it was about, you know, can you get a bunch of artists and engineers and architects and computer scientists and material scientists and all these people, put them in a room and shake it up and see what comes out the other side. We created some amazing things and amazing projects. But Michael came to me at the end of that and he said, you know, I'm going to Kenya. I'm building, there's this institution called the Samburu Girls, what is Samburu Girls Foundation? And they're all about, you know, female genital mutilation. She's this amazing woman named Josephine who rescues these girls from these crazy situations. And they built this school, and Michael was going there to build a kitchen, right? And kind of restructure the campus. And he said, hey, Lupe, do you want to go? And I said, absolutely not. You know, I don't know. I have no interest in going. But do you have water? Do you have water there? What's the water situation look like on the ground there? And he said, well, you know, they walk a mile, 2 miles every day to go get water, which looks like chocolate milk, right? And they bring that back and they cook and they clean, they filter it out a little bit. And I was like, well, what's the plan? Like, what's the long-term goal for that? And he said, well, they're going to build a well, right? So I was thinking, oh, we just built 2 wells in Kenya, but it's not enough, right? It's like, I'm not going to go look at the kitchen. I'm not going to go play the celebrity role. We're going to bring water to that place, right? And so we went there and we set up 40 of these, a field of these, on site, where these girls never have to worry about water ever again. Never have to walk. They can spend more of their time thinking about reading, learn how to write, becoming computer scientists and things of that nature and focusing on themselves. So there's real world solutions that are happening with Source right now all over the world, right? Changing, affecting people's lives in very dramatic ways, right? And as many people as we can get, tasking ourselves to come and be a part of that mission and a part of that fight to win the hearts and minds of people, to make the world a better place, right? To give those people that are, have been generationally put down by something very basic, lack of access to clean drinking water, right? Such a fundamental property that we kind of take for granted, that is actually even very fragile in our places, in our societies, in our first world countries, right? Because we just think we turn on the tap, water comes out, everything is fine, right? We go to the store, we get a bottle of water, we open it up, everything's fine. I don't have to worry about that. But the impact of that and the effects of that, our tertiary effects of that, the second and third order effects are having major impacts on society and the world in which we live, and it's unsustainable. We can't keep it up. We can't keep it going, right? So no one is safe from the water crisis that is happening in this planet, on this world. And the Source is one step, in addition to all of the people who work in water tech, who coming up with solutions to try and help push back a little bit and fight on every level. So we're just one step in the process, but we're one big ass step, right? And so, we appreciate you guys even coming out and seeing what we do. And if you haven't had an opportunity to get a shot of water, it's over there. And all the water that's coming out of that faucet is coming out of these panels. There's no pipes connected to anything. There's a lot of magic, yeah? There's no trickery, no sleight of hand, even though we are in Vegas. This is all legitimately what's happening behind you. It's such a mind-boggling thing. So I like to do my keynotes in chunks. That was the first professional part, as professional as it's going to get. The rest of this is going to be a winging it, as I like to call it. But I want to talk about responsibility, right, and consequences to certain things, right, the unexpected, unintended consequences of certain things. But also the past and the future, right? Past and the future. I'm going to do it in a very visceral way, very quickly, very immediate. So if you know me, everywhere I go, if you really know me, you know I keep two things with me no matter where I go, right? And one of them is this. Everybody can see that? That's it. And pass it around, yeah? You can touch it, it's okay. It's not radioactive. But pass it around. Touch it, feel it. It's an entrepreneurial lesson in this, right? How many of anybody ever seen anything like that before, right? It'll get around to you. You've seen it? Yeah? Oh, what do you think it is? No, what do you think it is? Your wildest guess. A nose ring? Good guess. What do you think it is? Thought it was a cow nose ring, like a bull nose ring? Okay. Anybody else? What do you think it is? A doorknob. It's like a door knocker. Yeah, okay. Good. Not bad.
It's like a bracelet for a little girl.
Looks like a bracelet for a little girl.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hold that. Let it get around. What do you think it was made? What does this have to do with water? Good, that's a better question, right? We'll get there. What do you think was made? Just wild guess. For you to have touched it. What do you think was made? What do you think was made? Where? Yeah. That's craftsmanship right there.
Detroit.
You said Africa? Okay, Africa. Who said Detroit? Okay, Detroit. Chicago. Yeah. How old do you think it is? So just a guess, you can throw it out. How old do you think it is? 200 years? Okay, close. That's enough suspense, yeah? So it's 175 years old. It was made in Birmingham, England. Its initial design is African, so you're on the money there. It could potentially have been worn by a little girl, so it is a bracelet. It's called a manila. And what the manila is actually is money. So I actually need it back. It's actually money. Right? But I didn't get this in Africa, and I didn't get it in Birmingham, England. I actually got it from the bottom of the ocean. It's from a ship, from a slave ship. So this little guy right here was the currency for the slave trade. So this would buy one person. It had no value in Europe. It had no value in the West. It only had value in Africa because it was accepted as currency. So it became the standard unit of currency for the slave trade. Through inflation, it went as far as maybe 8 of these would buy a person. If you were a virgin, maybe 30 to buy one person. Yeah? And so this one is, I know some of you feel like this, like very disgusted now because you touched something that represents a human being, part of one of the most tragic entrepreneurial events to ever take place in mankind's history. It was the Transatlantic slave trade. It lasted 400 years. Yeah, it made a lot of people rich. A lot of great inventors participated in the slave trade. One of them was Isaac Newton. Invested a lot of his money from the Mathematica Principia into the slave trade. Yeah, into a boat like this that would go buy a lot of chains and a lot of shackles and a lot of rations and a lot of manillas, fill up their boats in either Liverpool or Birmingham, and then they would sail down to the west coast of Africa and they would fill that ships up with slaves and take them into the New World. Yeah? So it was a business opportunity. It was a great investment. Yeah? A lot of turnover. A lot of the financial institutions and a lot of the financial algorithms that we use today to calculate things like insurance and a lot of the financial tech things that you'll see actually being presented here at CES in certain capacities. All that stuff originated from how do we make money if the slaves die? How do we create derivative packages for that? So a lot of great inspiration, a lot of great technology, a lot of great things, navigating the seas and things of that nature, faster, better, quicker ships, a lot of material science and things of that nature. This is actually made out of copper, right? And it was worth its weight in gold, worth more than gold, because copper was rare in Africa. So they didn't want gold, they wanted copper. And the Europeans were like, we got a lot of doorknobs made out of copper. We can melt those down and make manillas and get people from them. But this one, as we pass it around and you touch it, you might have felt a little shock, feel a little disgust, might feel a little uneasy right now, but don't, because this one is uncirculated. It never got into circulation. Because fortunately, the ship that was carrying this down to the west coast of Africa in 1843 actually hit a bunch of rocks and it sank. And so this was salvaged from a shipwreck. If this was salvaged from an actual active slave ship, these wouldn't be on board. Right? So feel good about that. So past and present, innovation. How does it relate to entrepreneurialism? Right? Picking a business that actually means something. Understanding its tertiary effects. And how do you use the past to inform the future? So this is the past. Yeah? This is real legitimate past. This wasn't good enough for me. What am I going to do with that? So I'm going to take this. Initially this was covered in barnacles and all type of undersea detritus. And I said, okay, I'm going to clean all that off. That's why it looks like this. I'm going to make a mold. And we're going to make new ones. Yeah? And cast new ones. Brand new ones. As if they looked like they would the day that they came out the factory. The same factory was making plates and forks and doorknobs, but it was also making money for the slave trade. So let's make new ones. Yeah? You can pass that around too. Check that out. Get the energy. Yeah? Good energy from that one. So that's a new one. It's made last year. It's 1 year old. It's the baby. And the idea, like, can I get that back really quick? Sorry. No, I'll give it to you. You can use it right. So the idea is what I would do is I would get up on stages like this at my concerts, and I would ask all the people in the crowd that were of African American descent. And I would bring them on stage, and I would pull out the first one, and I would say, hey, does anybody know what this is? And they would say, I've never seen that before a day in my life. And I would pass it around, and they would touch it and feel it. And I would tell them what it was. And they would all start crying. And I said, wait, hold those tears. right? Because we got a new one now, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to take this one, and we're going to buy back our past, right? We're going to buy it back. We're going to buy back our history. We're going to buy back our past. And then with this new one, we're going to buy our future, right? We're going to set the terms and the goals for the type of future that we want in our lives, right? We're going to take something that was meant to be destructive, right? We're going to take something that seems to be even today so traumatic and so disheartening, right? And seem like such a problem in the world. We're going to take that same thing and we're going to turn it into a solution. We're going to turn it into motivation. We're going to turn it into inspiration. We're going to turn it into aspiration. We're going to turn it into action, right? And we're going to become the controllers of our own fate. So when you think about business, when you think about entrepreneurialism, when you think about solutions in the world, right? Sometimes it's about looking at something that's very ugly, something that seems very insurmountable, something that is almost impossible to do, and then reaching into that same piece, not shying away from the ugliness of it, not shying away from the disgust of it, and then find a solution within that. And that's why, honestly, and Cody will tell you this is, I promise I wasn't going to curse in any of the keynotes anymore because it kind of took things down. But no, that's why I'm up here. That's why I'm in front of these panels. You know, that's why I go to the Philippines, or I go to Jordan, or try and go to Haiti, or anywhere that I can go in the world and touch this and be a part of this, right? And put my DNA and my fingerprint on this, because I want to be a part of this, right? And it's a beautiful, amazing kind of thing, yeah? So that's that section of the keynote. Last section of the keynote, I promise you. Then I'm going to bring up Dr. Mayor Weaver here. Clinical psychologist and mayor of Flint. Fantastic. And a rapper too, right? Don't you rap too? So we talk about partnership, we talk about corporate responsibility, we talk about all these things, and Mayor Weaver's going to expound on that at length. Cody's going to get up here and talk about that. Always end with a story. The story goes a little something like this, right? Caveman patent office. Right? Caveman patent officer, the head guy. He's this amazing shaman, spiritual leader, very wise, very smart. Right? He wrote the patent for the first arrowhead, wrote the patent for the updated arrowhead, right? Wrote the patent for the first axe head, right? Wrote the patent for the first wheel, the first rounded piece of stone. Wrote all those patents, like this stuff is great. Guy walks in, he said, hey, I got a new invention. It's called fire. It's like, oh, fire, what does it do? He's like, well, you know, the nature of it is the world is inefficient, right? We got this night thing and this day thing, right? This day thing is fantastic. We can see, we can do things, we're active, right? But then this night thing comes along, we can't see, we can't do anything, we're scared, we can't move. So I got this new technology called fire, right? It's amazing. We'll be able to see at night. We'll be active 24 hours a day. We can engage. We don't have to be afraid of anything. We constantly communicate this whole thing. Patent office guy's like, wow, that's amazing. Like, you're a genius. Starts writing up the patent, gets it in. He says, you know, but you were wrong on one point. He's like, what do you mean I was wrong on one point? He's like, you were wrong on one point. He said, yes, the light of the day was always meant for us to see the outside world, right? To see what's going on out there. But the night, as inefficient as it is, was always meant for us to see inside of ourselves, to reflect inside. So out of all the gadgetry and things that you see here, all the amazing things here to engage you 24/7, remember that sometimes it's good to embrace the night and it has meaning. Cut off your phones. Yeah? Good. So next I'm going to bring up the amazing, the challenging, the conqueror, the intelligent, the magnificent, Dr. Karen Weaver, Dr. Mayor Karen Weaver, the mayor of the City of Flint, and she's going to tell you about partnerships. Yeah? Thank you for your time, man.
And thank you for that introduction. I don't know. But I am so happy to be here. And I am going to talk about I am going to talk about partnerships because that's how Flint has gotten where it is today. And some of you may know about the story of Flint, Michigan, and some of you may not know. And there's just so much inaccurate information about Flint. But you know, Lupe, as I was listening to you talk, and you were talking about having access to clean water, and talking about all of the countries that you've gone to and partnering with Source to help bring clean water to people. And I thought, wow, here we are in Flint, Michigan, and we're talking about access to clean water. We're in Michigan, the Great Lakes state, and we should have access to the largest fresh water on earth. But in Flint, Michigan, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. And people wondered what happened because I'll give you just a brief history of how we got to be, I think, the poster child for clean water issues and the importance of infrastructure in this country and maintaining infrastructure and updating infrastructure and always questioning, and we should now always question the quality of the water that we're drinking. So I do need to say thank you to Source because we're going to do some great things together and we're excited about it. But in Michigan, there were some decisions that were made and profit was put over the health and well-being of the people. Our water source was switched. And when the water source was switched, we went from getting water from Lake Huron, one of the Great Lakes, to getting water out of the Flint River. And that was scary in and of itself. But to take it a step further, when the switch was made, corrosion control was not put in the water when they treated it. And so because we have an aging infrastructure, like so many other cities across this country have an aging infrastructure that has not been attended to, lead leached into the water. And we knew it, and while our water didn't look like milk, it was brownish, orangish, it didn't smell right, or even if it was clear, you knew something was wrong because that's what happened with me at my house. Our water was clear, but I knew when I washed my clothes, they were hard, they didn't smell right. I knew that I had to scrub the shower more frequently than I used to have to, but for 18 months, the people of the city of Flint knew something was wrong with the water, and they came with jugs of water, and they came and talked about the outbreak of the skin rashes and hair falling out, and nobody listened for 18 months. And so as a result, we ended up with a water crisis. So that one of the first things I did when I got into office in 2015 was to declare a state of emergency, which our state government was not excited about, but we didn't care. We weren't excited about drinking brown water. So, but I'm going to fast forward because people are wondering what's going on in Flint today. And you hear that we still can't drink the water. And I said, well, let me tell you what's going on in Flint today. We had identified some pipes that needed to be changed. And we knew we had 18,000 that we needed to address quickly. And then after that, another perhaps 10,000 that we wanted to have excavated and let's see, because we were going to change them. And we found out because when you held up that copper, that's what it made me think of, because the pipes that are copper were the ones we were able to leave in place. But one of the things we were told initially was, well, the pipes will recoat because we've switched to, Lake Huron water. But we weren't going to wait for that. We knew the people in the city of Flint deserved to have new pipes going in. We needed new pipes. And so we've been excavating. And we were supposed to, by law, have 18,000 pipes addressed by the end of next year. And if they were lead or galvanized, we had to change them. So I'm just really excited to let people know that we're ahead of schedule. And we have almost looked at 20,000 pipes now. So I know that's a great thing. And we're working on it. The reason you hear that we still need bottled water, we still need filtered water, is because one of the things the EPA has said is when you have the amount of construction going on that we have going on, you still have a public health issue and you have to protect yourself. So while we are changing these pipes. We will continue. I'm going to continue to tell people to use bottled and filtered water. And then after we have finished, and our goal is sometime this summer, not the end of this year, but sometime this summer, I want our health community to sign off. And how long do we need to continue to test the water and get certain results before we say, okay, it is ready to come out of the tap? Because everybody should have tap drinkable water. You know, that was what we started with. That's what we want. That's our goal. So we're going to wait for our health community to say, yes, you've done it, you've tested it this many times, and you can give a thumbs up and tell people to drink the water. So we're excited. But you know, you talked about entrepreneurship. And even as you talked about bad things happening, but letting, you know, taking our past and making something good happen from it, that was one of the things I was determined to have happen in the city of Flint. Even when this emergency was declared, we had the National Guard coming in, handing out bottled water, and we knew they were getting paid about $2 million to do this. We had young people between the ages of 18 and 24. They didn't have jobs. They weren't in school. We can pay our own people to do this. Let's start, you know, making some things happen. We knew that in a crisis, economic opportunities happen. They're going to happen, and we wanted to make sure the people of Flint benefited from those. So when we put out the bid for the pipe replacement, we could have done a big chunk and said, we need somebody to change 18, 20,000 pipes. But the local companies couldn't do that. They didn't have the financial resources to do that. And so we put them out in zones because we wanted the people of the city of Flint and Genesee County, the county in which we reside, to have first opportunity for those jobs. And we made sure that happened. One of the other things we did was we paired people. We did apprenticeship programs and paired them with the plumbers and the pipe fitters so they could get paid while they were learning something. It was a trade, and we said, we want you to stay in Flint, but wherever you go, you have a trade where you can take care of your family and no one can take that from you. So we wanted to have those kinds of economic opportunities happen as a result of a crisis. Because I said, there's no way we're going to have a crisis and we're not going to benefit from some of those things. You know, we have to benefit from some of those things. And so that's what we've been looking at in Flint. And what a lot of people don't know is before the water crisis, which was the contamination, the poisoning of our water, our issue was we were paying 8 times the national average for water. So not only should people have access to water, they ought to be able to afford it. You know, so we couldn't pay the water bill. And then we couldn't pay the water bill for water we couldn't use. And so we've been looking at affordability and you know, how do we make that happen? Because we've said this is a basic human right. And the way it's going, we don't have access to clean water. It just made no sense for a city in the United States to not have access to clean, affordable water. So those are the things we've been working on. And I think what's come out of Flint is people are paying attention. People are paying attention, and while we know we're not the only Flint, we represent so many municipalities, but somehow we did become the poster child. And so one of the things I have felt is it's been our responsibility. We have a moral and an ethical responsibility to speak up and speak out and not let this water crisis define us. And we've talked about this being one of the greatest comeback stories in the history, and it will be Flint. We've looked at economic development and how do we work with others and how do we collaborate, because like I said, economic opportunities come, and that's what we're focused on. You know, I said if you come to Flint, you'll see development going on. We need that. But one of the things we said is we don't ever want to be in this position again. We don't ever want this to happen. And even as you're putting in new pipes, things happen where all of a sudden you've got a boil water alert. And you're thinking, okay, now what do I do? So we're trying to rebuild, and we're trying to rebuild and reestablish trust in the city of Flint as well. But while we said we should always have access to water, we said, how do we do that? How do we do that, and who can we partner with? And I think it was maybe, a couple of months ago, I went to a place called Phoenix. Well, that's where I flew into, but I really went to Scottsdale? Is that where I was? And I ended up at this place, Source. And I said, now, where am I going? And hi, Jonathan, because he was part of getting me there. But we were looking at these panels. And as soon as we got in there, they said, taste this water. Now, they don't know we're kind of funny about tasting water now. You can't just put some water at us and we say, okay. And Candace was evidence of that. But she was like, I don't just drink any water now. We're from Flint. We're very careful. But we went out there and we saw the technology that was going on. And it was really nice to see water and technology coming together because, like I said, we can't be in this position again. And so who do we work with and how do we utilize technology to have access to water? And here it is. Here it is. And we've been partnering, and we're really going to make, I think, some big, exciting announcements in the near future about the direction we're going with access and affordability with water in the city of Flint. Because one of the other things we said is we're not going to go through a crisis and not come out on top. And with everything we've been through in the city of Flint, we're looking to be a water research hub in this country. I said we ought to be able to share our knowledge and our experience and our expertise with other people around the country and around this world about what we've been through, how we did it, what are the things you need to look out for, what are the things you need to demand, because you do need to demand. You know, I said it's sad when they say it was what, 15 parts per billion was what was acceptable as far as lead and water. We said that is so old and outdated. We need to look at those standards and we need to demand stricter standards around our water quality. Well, I think we're getting it to 12 and people were excited about that. And I said, well, that's not very exciting. It's a step in the right direction, but it's not very exciting. And so, you know, I'm just excited. I'm happy to be here. I'm glad to talk about this partnership that we're having because nobody ever thought we'd be talking about access to clean water in the United States. And we really didn't think we'd be talking about it in the Great Lakes state of Michigan. And so it's real, it's serious, and we need to come together because one of the things I've said is we've made so much progress in Flint. If you came, I think you'd be so shocked by what you see because, you know, you always see negative things, but great things are happening there. And this is going to be one of them. This is going to be one of them, and I can't wait because this is another way to, like I said, help us establish trust and to look toward the future and how do we, you know, make something great happen out of something bad, and that is a responsibility, and I'm so glad you all are here and you're listening and paying attention because what I tell everybody everywhere I go is don't let us go through a crisis and you don't benefit from what we've been through. Please don't do that. Please demand that people are paying attention to infrastructure and in maintaining and investing. Please demand people are looking at water quality standards. Don't take it for granted because we did. We did. And you see what happened. And we can't do it. We cannot do it. We've got to look at entrepreneurship and how we partner and bring people together. We were talking about this beautiful puzzle we're creating, but you can't do a puzzle. It's not one piece. And it takes so many pieces to make it happen. And here we are, Source. Here we are as part of this great thing that's going on. And it shouldn't happen just in Flint. You know, what'd you tell them? Go take a shot of water? Get a shot of water. And I mean, because it's the new delicacy. It's the new delicacy. I mean, we've talked about, I never thought I'd say, wow, this water tastes good as opposed to that water. But we've become water connoisseurs in the city of Flint. And you should too. You should too. And this is our first step in doing that. And so I'm just excited about the opportunity. I'm excited that people are paying attention. And I'm just looking forward. I can't wait. You're going to have to wait. You said you finally told them what they were handling and what it is, but you all are going to have to wait because we're looking at making an announcement and talking about how we're going to bring water quality to a new level through technology and people. Through technology and people. And so I'm excited about it. And I just want to say thank you. I want to thank Source Water. I want to thank you, Lupe, for being part of this because it takes not just people like me in government, not just people that are looking at technology, artists, and whoever is out here. It takes all of us to make the change that needs to happen. And so I'm just glad to see so many people here and that we're talking about water and technology. So thank you so much.
Partnerships with Mayor Dr.Karen Weaver and Lupe Fiasco is what makes building Zero Mass Water such a blast. I mean, you just heard from two of the brightest minds in the country, coming from very different perspectives, talking about something so fundamental. Right? Now, when we think about the technology behind SOURCE, right, it is a world first. It is totally infrastructure free. It's now in 18 countries across 5 continents, across a huge range of environments. It's changing people's lives. There's layer upon layer of intellectual property and new capabilities that didn't exist before. That was really hard to get to. Great, awesome, terrific, pat on the back. It's our thesis that's 2% of the way to the solution. The other 98% is the human element. It's partnering with people where they have the challenge, or where they see the need to improve their water. It's partnerships like with the City of Flint and Dr. Mayor Weaver. Dr. Mayor Weaver and Lupe Fiasco allows us to really not just deliver a technology, but humanize that technology and make sure it's actually solving the problem that we intended to set out to solve. Much like the discussion that Wasalu had about the Manila and the pathway that entrepreneurship can take when all outflows of that, all externalities to that entrepreneurship aren't considered. So if we can flip that script and bring the human element in early, we can bring technologies to the fore and have them be fundamental goods and intrinsically lift people up. That's what we aim to do. So thank you everybody for coming out. I hope you enjoy the rest of CES and much love for 2019. For immediate inquiries, the mayor will be here for just a few more minutes, and so if you want, I will. I heard you. My name is Cody Friesen. I'm the founder and CEO of Zero Mass Water. When we cut it, we'll put that at the beginning. The mayor will be here for immediate inquiries for another 5 minutes, and so just queue up over on the side over here, and we'll take questions. Thank you very much.